Okay, so this is a familiar Mishnah because it's the same Mishnah in Megillah, right? So we're going to differentiate between a types of nedarim. You can make a neder against eating. You can make a neder against just I'm getting enough. So the Mishnah says, "Ein bein hamudar hana mechaver lemudar emenu meichel." There's no difference between somebody makes a neder from his friend that hana, meaning he's not going to benefit from his friend, or to mudar emenu meichel, to making somebody who makes a neder that he's just not going to eat from his friend. Eladrisha saregel, walking through his property. And utensils that you don't make eichel nefesh. Other than that, everything is the same, right? Which basically tells you that that everything gets down to food. No, I'm saying that's the only two things you could find. The difference between hana is walking in his property and borrowing a hammer, let's say, right? There's no other differences. I guess everything else boils down to food. No pun intended, right? So the memela, those if you make a neder that you're not going to eat from somebody, then you could borrow his hammer, which we're going to see in the Gemara that's not so simple either. But if you made a neder not to get enough from him, so you can't borrow his hammer either. Yeah, fine. That's the first case in the Mishnah. Then the Mishnah says, somebody makes a neder from eating food from his friend. He's not allowed to borrow a sifter, nafta and kvara types of sifters, berechaim and a grinder, a tanner, or an oven. Why? Because all of these have to do with food. These are all utensils meant for food, right? Which just seems to be that the Mishnah is repeating itself. The Mishnah just said that if you make a neder from food, so you're allowed to borrow utensils that have nothing to do with food. Fine, that's what it just said in the Mishnah. Why is it repeating itself? Right? So really what it is this is not direct food preparation. Meaning, enough on the kvara, it's not like a pot. A pot directly cooks the food. Right? But enough on the kvara, first you have to sift it, and then you have to make the food edible. The mashal for this is a common shaila. Really only me'ikar adin, only utensils that have to do with direct food preparation need tefillah, right? But utensils that are not direct food, let's say, what do you call it? Coffee grinder. That's what's the common ones. Coffee grinder, meat thermometer. No, meat thermometer is a little debatable. But these type of things that are not directly involved in the preparation of food, me'ikar adin, don't need tefillah. There are shitas that you need tefillah. So what we do is we say tefillah without a bracha, because what does it hurt? But anything that's not directly involved with food preparation, you don't need. Me'ikar adin does not need tefillah, right? Let's say baskets that you store fruits and vegetables in the kitchen. So that's not directly. If you would put the baskets on the table, so then that's like the last stage before eating it, then Ivada needs tefillah, but otherwise not. So that's what the Gemara is thinking here, that maybe when you made a neder against achila, so only stuff that actually is directly involved with the final product of the food would be a problem. And the second line of the Mishnah is telling you, that even how do you call it? What's the word for it? Preparatory. The stuff, yeah, but the stuff that's even, yeah.
Auxiliary?
Yeah, the stuff that's auxiliary maybe, or anything like that you would not be able, that you would think you would be able to borrow. So Mishnah telling you, no, you can't, because that's also involved in food. All right? So then the Mishnah finishes, yeah.
I was thinking, I don't know, if I have no idea. I just was thinking that maybe it's the opposite of on Yontif, when you could start the malachas you could do on Yontif for food. At a certain point, you can't, right? I mean,
right, then a chanami, right. So that would be another example. Very good. Let's say you don't have a mill for Yom Tov. So can you create a mill on Yom Tov?
Yeah.
Right. So that's not directly involved. So you wouldn't be able to. You would not be able to. Right. But the other things, maybe you can, maybe you can't. Okay, that's already debatable. Yeah, that's a good example. Fine. And the Mishnah finishes off. But you can lend him Or he could borrow chaluk, he could borrow a shirt, he could borrow rings and a talis and nizmim and nose rings. I don't know why I need so many examples, but that's it means clothing and jewelry, right? So those you're allowed to borrow because that obviously has nothing to do with eating. So the guy that makes a neder against eating is allowed to borrow them, but somebody who makes a neder from hana is not allowed to borrow them. Okay, so the Gemara asks, Man Tana, who's the Tana that says that you're not even allowed to walk on somebody else's property? Meaning, is that a hana? You want to say
did
something?
Men wear nizamim?
Way back when, yes.
Back in the Mishna days, men wore nizamim.
I'm saying, what's the difference? You stop asking, or?
Well, if he lent it for his wife, is that called giving him hana?
You mean if it's for his wife?
Yeah.
I would think so, no? I would think it gets him out of buying it. He gets to borrow it, no?
I don't know. It's an indirect hana. The Mishnah should be saying that. He can't do anything for it. Can't give his wife, I don't know, help with the groceries from the store.
I hear. Now that you bring it up, somebody actually asked me last week that the kala has a nose ring. So what's the groisa shaila? So you'd think they would ask, so can you go to the mikveh with a nose ring, right? That wasn't the shaila. The shaila was since the minig is by a chuppah that you get rid of all your jewelry, so does she have to take off the nose ring because the nose ring is very painful to take off? Yeah. So that's so Elamai, there are people nowadays that are wearing nose rings.
Do you have to?
I don't, there's no, it's just a minig. The whole thing with the jewelry is, I don't even know where exactly it comes from. There must be a source, but you can wear your jewelry if you're afraid it's going to get stolen, right? Let's see. Yeah, so there's no tsar. I was going to ask, why didn't you ask about mikveh, but I wasn't going to start up. Right? Anyways. So the Gemara says, Man Tana, who's the Tana that holds that walking on somebody's property is considered hana? Some Rav Eliezer, the Tana Rav Eliezer, afilu vitor also b'meder hana. If somebody makes a neder that he's not going to get hana, so even vitor is like you have a baker's dozen. So the baker, do they still do baker's dozen? When you get 12 bagels, you get 13.
No, nobody buys a dozen bagels at once anymore.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, you need a mortgage to buy a dozen bagels. I think they're like over $2 a bagel now.
Well, that's crazy. All right. Okay. So then they're certainly not giving you a baker's dozen. Whatever it is, it means the extra. Sometimes they throw it in there. I'll throw in. You buy a cell phone from a guy. Says I'll throw you in a charger, right? So that extra thing. So when if you're allowed, like we saw in the end of the last parak, when you buy something from somebody and it's not something that's very much in demand, so that's not really even called getting hana from the guy, right? But if the guy would throw in a few extras, maybe that would be considered hana. So that's what R Eliezer holds. So that extra is considered hana, so you're not allowed to get from it. So the same thing with walking on somebody's property is considered some sort of hana, right? But again, really, it's going to be totally in what type of property you're making the shortcuts, etc., etc. Fine. Then the Mishnah says, so somebody makes a neder from the Michael, from his friend, so he's not allowed to borrow any utensils that have to do with food preparation. On Talmud Aleph now. Hold on, my iPad froze. There we go. Froze. Sorry. So Gemara asks, "V'ham min Michael neder." What are you saying that the guy made a neder that he's not going to get benefit from food, right? What does it have to do with the utensils that prepare food? Why can't he get hana from that? So Rish Lakish, it's talking about where he didn't say that he's only not getting hana from his Michael. He's not getting hana from your food is on me. Meaning when he says hana, when he adds the word hana, so therefore that's coming to say that anything that has to do with food is going to be assur. So basically, in the Mishnah, we had a Havamina that he just meant the word Michael, and now Rish Lakish is saying, no, it doesn't mean Michael, it means he said Hanas Michael. So that, using utensils is also considered utensil for Michael is also considered getting hana from Michael. Simon says if that's the case, so an ema shelo yilos chitin v'yitin al makasa. So why doesn't the Mishnah say a different case? Why doesn't it say, and this we have this in Psachim, right? That why don't you you can chew wheat and then put it onto a cut, and that helps heal it. So why wouldn't we say that that's a direct benefit from Michael? You're not eating that, right? You're not eating that, but you're going to get a benefit from it. So why didn't the Mishnah use that case? So he says it's the benefit of food that's going to be onto me, meaning what do you call, what was the Mishnah's cases? Nafon kvara, using sifters. So that gets directly involved in food preparation. So that's what he meant. But something that has no shaykhs to eating is that part he didn't include. All right. The Gemara could have, for the same price, used an example. Well, I don't know if they had it in the Gemara's times, but we could use a practical example of, whether you're allowed to take pills on Yom Kippur, right, or on any fast day, or you're allowed to take pills that have tarfus in it if it's not derech achila, right? So it's not considered derech achila. So then, the same way the Gemara could have asked about chewing the wheat and putting it on the makkah, it could have said some sort of scenario like that, right? Stuffing it down the throat, right? All those Gemaras.
Who's the yud and the yilois and the yitain? Is it the person who's madir or the mudar?
Wouldn't it? I mean, you want to know who's chewing it?
Yeah, maybe it's the guy who's made the neder chewing it and putting it on the mudar's wound.
You mean the guy, no? What he's getting? That's called
that's a
getting
little disgusting, no?
Yeah, like that would be disgusting.
But I'm saying,
but that's no? Yeah, but is that called hana anyways? Even if it's disgusting, I'm saying, is that called getting hana if you're chewing up the wheat for somebody else?
But the hana is not the chewing. The hana is on the makkah, right? That's what the Gemara is trying to say. But here it's getting out of the yilois. Who's the chewing? The chewing's an achila or not? On Yom Kippur, what would we call an achila? On a regular time, it's not. But maybe here for Nedarim.
Would it be called an achila?
Shmuel David, Aaron Judge, shoot it up and put it on your cut. No.
Oh, yeah.
Then it's worth $1 million.
Okay, no.
I don't know. I never thought about it. Who's doing it? I hear.
Why isn't the yilois a problem? That's the Taz at the beginning of Basa B'chalav. Who's the chewing without swallowing?
Correct. Well, that's considered an achila.
So for some things it is, some things it isn't.
Yeah,
but see, I
don't know.
It's mashma from the Ran at the end that it's not considered any hana mitzad achila.
Why?
The Ran says
by the white line, the first white line.
If you say ba'omer hana meviach alidei Michael, which it will only assur nafa and kavra and food itself, but lo yilois it will not assur. It's mashma that al yilois it won't assur that you're not getting any hana from inside that. In the maskanas of the sugya, meaning in this scenario where you say ba'omer hana meviach alidei Michael, it wouldn't just chewing. You would not have the hana of eating. The Ran says it's not assur in such a case.
It's the neder.
Well, the neder is achila, right? So if this is considered achila, it should be that.
Or if you say that it's a direct connection to achila.
It's not though. That's what the Ran's saying. The Ran says it's not. Right. It's only b'dafka if you say hanoas machalcha alai, then it's a direct. Then you could say that. But if you say it to the maskana suga hanoa meviach alidei machalcha, it's not going to be considered. Right. You're not, even though you're answering achila.
It's not part of the neder.
Achila, you're not answering chewing for therapeutic purposes.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that would be the pshat. No, yeah. Does that answer you, Gershon? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So Amar Papa. Sak lahavi peiros. How about sack to bring the peiros. V'chamor lahavi alav peiros, or a chamor that transports the peiros. V'afilu tzana ba'alma, and even stama baskets, right? So hana hamivi l'dei Michael, that's considered hana hamivi l'dei Michael, right? Even though that's also indirect, right? You can use the sack for anything. You can use the chamor for anything, but you're using it to transport the food. So since you're using it to transport the food, that's considered hana. That's mevi l'dei Michael. So then Rav Papa has a shaila based on that. So boy, Rav Papa sus lirkei b'alav. Let's say you're not bringing the food on the sus, but you're bringing yourself on the sus in order to get to the food. All right. So again, the Rav Papa is saying it's pasha that if you're bringing the food on the sus, you're not allowed to. I mean, if you made the neder, then that's not allowed. But what about you're bringing yourself to the food, the tabas lirisba, and a ring to be seen in the ring when you go into the party. Right, so you want to look chashuv. So you want to borrow the ring from the person that you made the neder against, so that you could look chashuv. So that will, I guess, enable you to either eat better or get into the party, whatever it is. So what's the din then? So and then another shaila, mifsak umezel ba'are. And what about going through somebody's land, right? Going through somebody's property to get to the food, then what's the din? Is that considered getting hana hamivili de Michael, or is that not? Because it's much more removed. So Tashema, so we're going to bring a raya from our Mishna. We said that you're allowed to, if you made a neder against somebody's food, so then he's allowed to lend him a shirt and a talis and jewelry. So what's that case? If you're talking about where he's lending it him that he doesn't need to be seen with them, do you need to say that? Of course it's mutter. It has nothing to do with food. Meaning if the guy just wants to borrow a shirt because he needs a shirt and has nothing to do with Michael, so why shouldn't he be able to borrow it? He only made a neder against eating, not against being clothed. What must it be? When he's borrowing clothing or jewelry, it must be that he's borrowing it so that he could be seen with them by a party. And yet we still learn that he's allowed to lend it to him. So Mamela, it has to be that it's allowed. It's removed enough from the food that it would be allowed. That's what Gemara thinks to bring a raya. So Gemara says, it's really talking about where he's not borrowing it to be seen. Meaning the Gemara is saying it's lav dafka. It could be any sort of case. So the reason why it's saying that case at the end is just basically to have a symmetrical Mishnah. Right? And since the Reisha says you're not allowed to borrow, so the Gemara wanted to bring a case in the Sefer where you are allowed to borrow, but really there really is no chiddush to it. So maybe you can't bring a raya from that.
What's the Drisa Seregel case?
He's using it as a shortcut to get to the party.
Isn't that the Mishnah? Drisa Seregel is mutter?
No, but he's using Drisa Seregel is mutter for stam. Not what this Drisa Seregel is in order to get to the food. Maybe that would be awesome. Drisa Seregel and Mishnah stam talking about if you only made another from Michael, so you're allowed to go into your neighbor's property. Right, but here the Gemara is asking.
It's only for B'tzina, basically.
Why are you saying that?
Because if he needs it to go out in public, it's not to get dressed up. Then it's not. I don't know
if it means public. It means that you need it in order to facilitate eating food somehow.
Drinks. If he lends him and talks, he gets VIP drinks.
I hear you.
Or he's able to go into the club and get the steaks.
If he's wearing the Rolex, he'll get it. Yeah, I hear saying.
Right. Or I know somebody on this staff who wants to use the different ID to get into a World Series game or something. I know somebody, right? Didn't you do something like that? But it was a World Series or the Shea Stadium, use your ID from work or something. Did you want to tell me that?
No,
Rabban, wasn't you?
I didn't do that. No.
Somebody told me that you just walked in with an ID and they don't even ID you. It just looks like you have an ID.
That's the story from. That was.
Rabban used a clean-shaven guy's ID.
Right, that was yeah. Show you how bright I am, parents. Right? No, that was the Yankee Met World Series. I had a ID on my. It was before the year before 9/11, so I had a regular, just an ID from some office in Manhattan, and then just nobody stopped us. Yeah.
Oh, you see, so I remember. See, I'm a Talmud.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, in the old days, right?
Yeah.
So that's what the guy needed. He needed a ring in order to get in. So he got that ring. So it's going to directly lead to him getting food. Okay, so the Mishna, the Gemara says that we don't have a raya either way. Fine. Okay, next Mishnah. Chol davar she'ein oisen by oichel nefesh. So let's say, and when it says that you're not allowed that that anything that doesn't have oichel nefesh, he's allowed to borrow. But malkam shemaschirin kiyotzaben. But if they rent out those utensils, so then assur, then it would, or those types of utensils, then it would be assur for the guy that made the neder to use them. Why? Meaning, if you live in a town where they never lend out hammers, let's use a hammer as an example. So we said again, if a guy makes a neder that he's not eating from the fellow, so he's allowed to borrow his hammer, because what does a hammer have to do with achila? So this Mishnah is saying that only applies in a town where they don't lend out their hammer, right? Or not lend it, rent out the hammer. But if they rent out the hammer, so then, and you go borrow a hammer, so then that will directly lead to you saving money for food, right? It sounds crazy, but that's meaning if you borrow your friend's hammer, and normally in that town, they rent out hammers, so now you save yourself $5 from renting the hammer, right? So now you have $5 extra. What are you going to do with it? The assumption is you're going to go get food, right? So Mamela, that's called being nene.
Because there's nothing else you're going to do with $5 but buy food.
I don't. Yeah, it's a strange.
What are you going to buy? What are you going to buy if you have $5? I'll give you $5 tomorrow. What are you going to do? You're going to buy food? No, you can only buy
back then for sure.
You can only buy a bagel schmear now for $5. You can't even get more than that.
Maybe half a schmear.
I'm saying back then, what are you going to do? Go bowling? So what are you doing with your extra money?
Can you buy food for Shabbos with it? Because it's not from the cheshbon.
Can you? What do you mean? Or does it come out of the cheshbon? I don't know. I hear. Listen, there's certain towns where they rent out freezer space, right? So you know, what I mean, somebody, yeah. I'm not gonna whatever. I'm saying, yeah, people need it freezer space. You don't lend. I mean this serious. They don't lend. You don't lend out your free.
I got to tell my neighbor that has a bunch of challahs in here. They're going to charge him $10 a month now.
Yes, I'm not going to say anything, but yes, there are places that they rent out their freezer space.
How's their housing?
I don't know now what they used to.
How's their housing market?
Booming.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyways, so but you never know. You never know what they could lend out in different communities. Anyways, so the Gemara says, "Mechlal the reisha avapi she'ein maskirin." So does this mean to say that in the reisha, even if they don't rent out, right? Even if they don't rent out the utensils, right? You're not allowed to get hana. So man tana, who's the tana? Right? Meaning even if you get, who's the tana that says that if somebody lends you something, then it's a problem. Even if it's not actually saving you money. Meaning, if I could borrow a hammer from neighbor number 1 or from neighbor number 2, I made a neder against. So I'm not really getting hana from neighbor number 2 because it wouldn't cost me anything anyway. So what's hana am I getting? I mean, it's a whole mentality thing. Again, I made a neder against my neighbor. I'm not ever borrowing something from my neighbor. Right? Now, if I borrow a hammer from him, am I getting hana from that or not? So if in the neighborhood you never ever have to pay for a hammer because you'll just go to a different neighbor and get it. So let's say you go to the guy you made the neder against. What are you doing? There's no hana from that.
You have to go to somebody else.
Good, but you could have gone to your left neighbor instead of your right neighbor.
For whatever reason, you went to your right neighbor instead of your left neighbor.
Good, but that's not necessarily direct hana. So Memela, So Mamela, that's what we're saying, that the Chiddush is that even there would be a problem. So Mantana, who's that Tana? Rabbi Eliezer. That's Rabbi Eliezer, who we said at the bottom of the previous summer, at the beginning of the Gemara. Rabbi Eliezer holds that even if the guy throws in an extra tip, not whatever, the extra bagel, the baker's dozen, it would still be a problem. Fine. Next Mishnah, this Mishnah we had before. We had it actually in Ksubas. And this is why I love these type of Mishnayos, where if you asked me before we learned the Mishnah, what should the din be? And I would say the exact opposite of whatever it says in this Mishnah, right? So that's Gishmak. Like, you feel like, oh, I got myself educated a little bit when I learned this Mishnah, right? So the Mishnah says, so if somebody makes a neder that he's not going to get hana from his friends, shekel, you're allowed to pay. He's allowed to go pay the machzas shekel for him, right? Meaning, again, he made a neder, right? That whatever the other guy made a neder, he's not allowed to get hana from him, right? So shekel is shekel. You can give him his shekel. You can. Back then, if somebody didn't give the machzas shekel, so they went and they forced people to give it. So when you see them knocking on your neighbor's door, again, your neighbor made a neder, you're not allowed to get hana from your neighbor. And then instead of what you do is you bailed out your neighbor and you go give him the machzas shekel. And not only that, but if your neighbor took a loan, if your neighbor took a loan, so you're allowed to go and pay back his loan for him. Now we're saying that's not considered hana, right? And not only that, but if he lost something, you're allowed to go and give him back his aveda. Right, so all these things, I would personally think that these are all being called being mahana, or being mahana the fellow, but we say it's not. Right, so if it's a place, if it's in a town where they do pay somebody for returning the lost object, people are not lahektish, then the hana should go to hektish. Meaning, normally people voluntarily pay back. I'm
confused. You're paying his machzas shekel of tzedakah because he doesn't have.
You what?
You're paying his machzas shekel of tzedakah because Yenim doesn't have.
Yeah. You're paying either the three cases in the Mishnah. Either you're paying his machzas shekel, or you're paying back his loan for him, or he lost something in the street. You go give it back to him, and all of those things, that's mutter, and that's not called breaking the neder of hana. Right, it's pretty wild. We have to see in the Gemara what the pshat in that is, right? Because imagine you don't say thank you to a guy who returns your lost object, like you just did me a taiva, right? That's hana.
If you don't say thank you, he might never do it again.
That's true, but right. So I'm saying we would all look at it like that's hana, correct? But the Mishnah says that's not considered hana. But if it's in a makom, so what happens if it's in a makom where people do get schar for doing hashavas aveda? So then what's he going to do if he gets the schar? So then that's hana, right? So then what Reuben has to do is he has to go, meaning you have Reuben and Shimon.
Meaning Shimon he'll get a finder's fee, a reward or something.
Correct. He's getting a reward. Right. He's getting a reward, but you can't give it to him because that's a hana. So then what do? You give it to the Beis HaMikdash. You give it to the Beis HaMikdash instead. Right? Which we'll have to see in the Gemara. This is
like in lieu of Shalach Manos this year, you're getting
exactly right.
Give the donation to the Beit of Kabayis in
lieu of keeping the halacha.
In lieu of getting Aaron Kaplan, a 25-year-old McAllen, I'm giving money to the Beis HaMikdash. I sent him that card. Right. He had so much enough from that. Oh.
Correct. Mom is not masking this. I'm just telling you now.
Listen. I'm waiting for somebody to do this on Hanukkah. In lieu of giving you a donut that's unhealthy, I'm giving you a card to give me some tzedakah. That actually might be helpful.
Right.
Right? Actually, Ramosha says...
Sesame will not be happy about it, though.
Yeah. Ramosha has a tshuva, right? Where on a 3-day Yom Tov, how are you allowed to earn interest on Shabbos, right? You're not allowed to earn interest on Shabbos. So how do you go earn interest from the bank if you have money in the bank account on Shabbos? Right, so Ramosha says a tshuva. So Friday's interest is meaning on your standard Shabbos. Friday's interest is you're getting it for Friday day, and Shabbos' interest you're getting the interest of Motzei Shabbos. So what about a 2-day, So a 2-day Yom Tov also doesn't have a problem, but a 3-day Yom Tov has a problem. So Ramesha says, you know what you have to do with that interest? You have to give it to tzedakah. Right? I don't know if this is the makar for doing that, but whenever there's money that you're not allowed to take, it seems, so what you do is you give it to tzedakah. Right? Fine. Okay, so that's the case. So Alma, so the Gemara says, Alma, we see Avruche Ariba Almahu. When you try and pay somebody back his loan, or you're paying back his machzis a shekel or whatever it is, that's not called giving him hana. What it is you're chasing a lion away, and that's mutter. Meaning, if you had an assur hana, a neder from somebody, right, and then a lion is coming after him, or a lion's coming to destroy his property. So by you chasing away the lion, are you giving him hana or not? You're preventing a loss. You're not giving him anything. It gets into very.
Didn't we say the fact that you don't, but you're saving money? Didn't we just say that without food that it should be assur because of that? What does that mean? By the hava,
no,
saving money.
He's the beneficiary of that.
By
Why
money,
is it different than saving money for food?
No, because when you said you're getting a direct benefit from that, meaning I was normally have to pay him for this hammer, and instead I'm borrowing it. So Mamela, I'm saving $5. So that's gonna directly go to food. Here, the guy wakes up in the morning, he has no clue that this lion's gonna come destroy his property. He has no clue it's gonna come destroy his property. By you chasing away the lion, what are you doing? You're preventing a loss. You're not gaining him anything, right? You're not gaining him. Yes, you're right. I mean,
we said that's subtraction. Though.
Why?
Because
addition by subtraction.
People money, that's considered getting a number because now you can go ahead and buy.
This is not no, but this is not there by the utensil. I'm doing something that should normally cost me money. I am doing this. You're saving me the money. So Mamela, you're causing me a gain. Here, I don't want the lion. The lion is, what does it have to do with me? Meaning he's preventing a loss. Right? He's preventing a loss. He's not.
It's not a loss. I owe somebody money. It's not a loss. Now I'm getting extra money. Why is that a loss?
Why?
Why
you getting? You already owed the money.
There's a difference between Manir Sareva and Samir.
Well,
you already owed the money. It's not like it's something that didn't exist.
No, but the lion, you didn't owe anything. By the lion, what did you owe?
I'm talking about the whole case of Alva. You owed already. It's not like you're preventing something it's not like nothing existed before. Something existed before. By Mavriach, there's no hezek that existed so far. So you prevented something. You prevented something to exist in the world.
No,
the money already existed.
I think by borrowing a kli, this is going to cost me money, and now my neighbor saved me money by lending me his. Right? By the lion, it wasn't costing me anything. There was nothing that was going to cost. We have no idea if the lion would have attacked or would not have attacked. He's preventing me from having a loss. You want to maybe?
I'm not arguing the case of Maria. I'm asking how.
Maybe. I hear what you're saying.
No, maybe that's what I'm asking. I agree with
maybe you want to say it's a different. You want to say, Akiva, that it's a difference if the lion's already in the guy's property or he's not even yet in his property. Meaning, let's say he shoots the lion before he even gets to his property. So then that's called Manir Sareva. But if the lion's running rampant in his property, actively destroying things, correct? Then maybe, right? That's what I hear. Okay, I hear that, Taina. You're saying it would depend on where the lion's holding, right? Okay, fair enough. I hear that, Katja. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, so the point is that he's saying a chiddush. Yeah, to me, it's a chiddush that by paying back somebody's loan to him or paying back his machzis a shekel, you're not directly benefiting him. You're just chasing the debt collectors away. Right? You're not mamish giving him hana. You're chasing him away. We'll have to see in the Gemara that we go by.
Giving him menuchas and nefesh is clearly that I'm not.
You're certainly giving him menuchas and nefesh. Yes, I don't know how that works. You're right. I don't know how that works. Yeah. So anyway, so the Gemara says, so man Tana, who's the Tana that says this? So Rav Hoshi Azu on top of the base now.
Mitzvahs lav lahen is nitnu. Paying those marks the shekels. There's no.
Yeah, but is that considered a mitzvah, or it's not a direct mitzvah? You're just doing the guy a favor.
Paying back the shekels a mitzvah. Paying back a loan is a mitzvah.
I hear.
Hashavas Aveda is not a mitzvah?
Hashavas Aveda. That's what I forgot.
No, right, yeah, but we're not talking about that, right. But this case we're not talking about the Hashavas Aveda case now. Now we're talking about just the paying back the loans. The Hashavas Aveda is going to have its own complicated situation tomorrow's Daf Bez Hashem, I'm trying to break tomorrow's Daf. I'm trying to break my head over. It's not so. It's all right. I'm having a hard time with it. Either way, so we say. So Gemara is saying. So Amar on the bottom line.
The rate we're going, Tzaki, got nothing to worry about. We're not going to make it.
Peretz, don't worry. The 2 dots. You see,
we're not going to make it to tomorrow's Daf.
5 minutes.
We'll make it to tomorrow's Daf.
Peretz, we're ending a little early because the 2 dots is a new sugya. So don't worry. Don't worry. You get back to your Sunday night football. Anyway, so is it a good game even? I don't even know. Yeah. Okay, so Amar Rav Ashi Zu Antom Bey Zu Divrei Chanan. This our Mishna is going according to Rav Chanan, who we're going to see in a minute. But let's just because the Gemara says it now. Rav Chanan. Remember we had this in Ksubas, where a man travels overseas, and when a man traveled overseas, he's supposed to leave money for his wife to be supported, and he didn't. So this guy decided he's going to be a nice guy, and he's going to support the wife. So according to Rav Hanan, he cannot kind on the husband. The husband comes back and he says to the husband, "Hey, I supported your wife. Give me back money. Give me the money." And he could tell him, "No, I don't want you. Who asked you to do that?" So that's the sheet of Rav Hanan. So Mamela. Right, so okay, so that okay. Let's wait till the Gemara do the Gemara. So that's the way Rabbi Shia says that the Mishnah is going according to Rav Hanan. Rabbi Amar, afilu teim divrei hakol, afilu teim divrei hakol. You can even say it's going according to everybody, even those ones that are chaylik and Rav Hanan hold that he has to pay back. Kavi moder hana the yavam menash loy lefroya. What we're talking about a type of loan that has no due date. The loan has no due date, right? The loan, the guy gave him a loan and said, pay it back whenever, right? So Mamela, the guy doesn't have a pressure to pay back the loan. Since he doesn't have a pressure to ever pay back the loan, that's not considered a direct benefit by paying it back for him. And then it's going according to everybody. So the Gemara says, my Chanan, what are you talking about, Chanan? The time we learned in the Mishna, somebody went overseas. And one guy stood up and was Mefarnas, the guy's wife, right, voluntarily. Chanan Omar, he lost his money. He did a very nice deed, but he does not, I mean, if the guy wants to pay him back, he's into hate, but he cannot taina on the guy to pay it.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's punished, but he's certainly not getting back his money, right? So Nechel go love B'nei Kahanim Gedolim. The B'nei Kahanim Gedolim disagreed. When they said, Yeshava.
I could be completely off base, but I think we had it in the Yavamas to talk about the shtaris that didn't have dates on them, weren't chal, weren't anything. So I don't know if I remember correctly.
Yeah, what do you mean? If a shtar without a date, you can't do anything about, right?
Right. So guys writing.
Yeah, right. Right.
So how does that work?
So he had a loan without. You're right. That would be also a good example. L'chayra, right? He gives him he has a shtar that's undated. So right. You got to decide you want to pay back that loan. So what? Right, and that's another example. So then, so Hanan says the guy can't collect. The guy, this good Samaritan can't collect, and the B'nei Kahanim Gedolim say no. He has to swear how much he spent, and then he could take his money, and he could get the money from the husband. And Amar Rav Dois Ben Hirkanis Kedevrayim, and Rav Dois Ben Hirkanis goes like the B'nei Kahanim Gedolim. Right, so.
Oh.
And then Amar of Yochanan ben Zakkai, Yofa Amar Hanan and Yech Moesav Karen Natzvi. Hanan is saying a good thing because the guy basically took his money and put it on the horns of a deer, right? Nobody who cherishes his money or likes his money is going to go putting money on the horns of a deer because the deer is going to run away and he lost his money. So that's the same thing. This guy, as well-meaning as he was, went and paid for this absentee husband to his wife and paid money for her, but bottom line is who asked him to do it, and Mamela, he basically threw away his money. So Mamela, so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about in that type of situation here. Yeah, so therefore, there's no hana. If the guy goes and decides to go pay back a shibud of his friend, even though he made a neder against him, but if it's this type of scenario, according to Hanan, he didn't benefit him anything because the guy would never have to pay anyway. Right? Let's say the guy would have made the neder against this husband that went overseas. Right? So you want to go and pay back, you're not giving this husband any benefit whatsoever because the husband wouldn't have to pay you back anyways. Right? So that's the way the Mishnah says it. That's the way from the Mishnah. Yeah.
How can you say he doesn't have benefits? He may not have to pay back, but he has a wife that's not going to kill him.
Yeah, but Naftali, he didn't have to pay it back. He got out of town.
But his wife was supportive.
That's true, but he's not going to get the Tzaddik of the Year award.
Nobody asked him to do it.
His wife's not ready. His wife's not going to kill him.
But nobody asked him to do it.
Not coming home to a headache because his wife screaming at him.
So what? That's
some people could take it, Naftali.
I promise you will have another headache.
Yeah.
So Yaakov, when you used the word Good Samaritan, you reminded me. Yeah. So there's a Good Samaritan law, but maybe Jesse would know what it is. There's a Good Samaritan law. If somebody goes to help somebody and he causes him damage or whatever, you can't sue him. He's not liable to pay because he was trying to do a chesed. So let's say this fellow, I just thought of it, this fellow who's feeding the guy's wife, she gets sick from the food he gave her. So they couldn't be able to sue him. And then mainly the guy doesn't have to pay back, even though Naftali's upset about it. He doesn't have to pay back. But if he caused damage to the wife?
When he served her rotten food, so
whatever,
maybe
there's such a law like that. But New York, the Good Samaritan law, you can't sue somebody who's helping somebody, who's trying to help somebody.
Yeah, but I don't know, would that change for the neder? But some of that wouldn't change. I don't know. I would think it wouldn't change the neder. Again, but it's not. This guy is not, winning the Tzaddik of the Year award. This husband. But the bottom line is okay. Naftali, can it be that the same guy that left his wife without food will also not pay it back? He's also gonna be the type of guy not to pay somebody else back.
There'll be somebody Rabbi Greenblatt could use in his stories now. He has a guy he could use in his stories.
I got that he's not going to get the Tzaddik award. I got that he's the what's it called at the end of the day. But to go say he's not getting Hana, even though he doesn't pay it back, he's still getting something.
We went through this whole sugya with back when the guy paid the thing and he wanted to collect it. And he wasn't able to. I never asked you to do it. Whether he's right or wrong, we have the argument here. We all know that.
Right.
I'm not arguing that he has to pay it back. I understand the guy got what's it doesn't have to pay it back. I'm saying that at the end of the day, his wife got fed. He still had enough. I'm going on enough. I'm asking on enough. He still got enough.
Why did he get enough? Why did he get enough? Because his wife ate
his wife was fed.
He's the type of guy. If I can, he's the type of guy that doesn't look at that as enough.
His wife ate and he gained the weight. What happened?
That's enough. Totally that, and giving the guys machzas a shekel is not giving him hana, right? According to Rav Hanan, that's not going according to that rationale. It's not considered giving him hana. It's like mavriach hari. That's what you have to say. It's like chasing an ari. You're chasing the debtors away from the guy, and that's not called hana. Others are going to disagree. Obviously, Rav is going to disagree and say that there would be hana, right? Oh, okay. So now what's pshat in the machlokes? So Rava lo yarmaka Rav Hoshia. Rava doesn't say like Rav Hoshia. The kamaykim lo lemasnisin kedivrei hakol. Rava would rather say that talking about a loan that's undated and the guy doesn't have to pay it back ever, because like this, that's going according to everybody. Everybody would hold that if you go pay back your friend's loan that did not have a due date, that's not called being mahana your friend. All right? So therefore, that's a chaladeya. So Rava would rather the Mishnah be going according to all opinions. Rav Hoshia lo yamarka Rava, but Rav Hoshia doesn't like saying like Rava. He would still rather go with Rav Hanan. Why? Right? Meaning, he says if you're going to allow a guy who made a neder against his friend to pay back his loan that did not have a due date, then he may confuse it and actually help pay his friend's loan that does have a due date, which you can hear that could be a confusion, right? The guy goes to the rabbi and says, I made a neder against my friend, but now I heard he's in hard times and I want to help him out. So the rabbi says, okay, what type of loan is it? He has no due date. It's whenever. It's a lifetime loan and he doesn't have a due date. He says, yeah, you could pay him back. That's not called hanah. So the guy's not going to chap. And then the next day, a different debtor is going to come and say to him, I have a loan that's due in a week. Can you pay it? He says, yeah, I asked the rabbi yesterday. And the rabbi said that I could pay back the loan without the person understanding that there was a difference in the loans. A loan that doesn't have a due date, you're allowed to, that's not called giving hanah because the guy would never have to pay it back. Mashenkin, a loan that has a due date, it would be a problem. So Rav Hoshea is concerned that if you can say that that's pshat, then people are going to get confused. So therefore, he would rather go with the das yochid. Right? So that's the pshat of the malchus. Because Rava would rather go with, according to all opinions, but there is a concern according to him for confusion. And Rav Hoshea is going the other way, and he's saying we'd rather go with the das yochid, and then there shouldn't be any confusion. Yeah. Okay. The next sugya is a long sugya. I don't know, it's a long sugya, but it's all about what's a pshat with returning the Aveda. So we'll continue that tomorrow, Bez Hashem. All right. Thank you for tuning in earlier. All right. Yeah. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Aaron, what was I telling you? What did I want to tell you? I don't remember.
I don't remember what.
Oh, it's the town I'm in that they do this.